everybody. Jeff Jones here. Welcome to the weekly Chase Oaks Church podcast. Before we dive in, I want to encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and download the Chase Oaks Church app. The app is the best place to catch up on messages, engage with our community, and stay in the loop with everything going on around here. Most importantly, my hope is that today's message inspires you to take your next step in your faith journey. Here we go. Good job, but you were caffeinated. Yeah, it's like Gremlins, no sugar for you. Yeah. Hey, really glad that you are here. And today we do start a new series called Things Jesus Never Said or Jesus Never Said. Because in our culture, I think a lot of the things that we're going to see in this series are things that sound good in our culture, so we assume Jesus would say something like that. Because in our culture, even if you're not a Christian, and some of you are not Christians and you're here kicking the tires, whatever, even if you're not a Christian, you still like Jesus, like most people in our culture do. They're like, hey, I may not like Christianity, I may not like Christians, like the famous Gandhi quote, I like your Christ, just not your Christians. And there's reason for that, I get it, I own that, and sometimes we're not like him. But most people in our culture like Jesus, they dig Jesus. Like, yeah, Jesus is cool, like, I'm all about that. And so some of these statements are things that feel like, oh yeah, I'm sure Jesus would say that, or would agree with that, or did that. Like today, our statement is find your purpose within. Or it's another version of like, you do you. Find your purpose within. And in our culture, that can sound very Jesus-y, but Jesus did not say that. In fact, that will have a result that is happening in our culture, and that is, as many people see, a crisis of meaning and a crisis of purpose. You will never find your purpose within. But we are going to talk about purpose, and Jesus is going to tell us where to find it. And when we think about purpose, you might think, well, that's awesome, because today I'm going to get a better picture of what I'm supposed to do. And you might, because a lot of times we think the big question with purpose is what? Now, what is a really big and important question. We've done a whole series on the what. Like, what do you believe God's what is for you? Like in your career or in serving God and all that you have different gifts, abilities, and experiences and passion, and that's really good. What's a great question? But it's not the most important question. Next weekend, Christy's my wife, will be hosting a senior retreat. And it's, seniors in high school. I have to clarify that. I need to do the other because I keep saying senior retreat, and a bunch of people, like my mom's friends and stuff, are like, well, that's great. When's that? And it's like, okay, we'll figure that out too. That'd be fun. It would be. But this is for seniors in high school. And if you are a senior in high school or have a senior or know a senior in high school, it's not too late. Just go to the hub and sign up. It's Friday night and Saturday at Levon at a campground. It's going to be fun. But also, opportunity to say, hey, let's get ready for this next phase of life, because it can be amazing or it can be derailing. Let's make it amazing and just kind of go in with some intentionality, that kind of stuff. But when you're 17, 18 years old as a senior in high school, you're inundated with a what question, right? What are you going to do? What do you want to be? What school are you going to go to, or what job are you going to do? Or, what major, if you're going to college, like what major are you, and what's your thing? And the what question's a big deal, as if, when you're 17, 18 years old, you're supposed to have it all figured out. And some people do, most people don't. But I'm really not going to emphasize the what in that retreat. It's an important question, and they've got some time to figure that out. There's some ways to figure that out. But when it comes to purpose, there's a way more important question that we'll emphasize next week and that we'll emphasize today, and that is the why. Why is a way more important question when it comes to purpose than what. And so today, my hope is that we will walk away, wherever we're at with God, that all of us, 100% of us, will walk away with a stronger sense of why that we can take into whatever what we find ourselves in. And I hope that in a culture that has a very deficient why, we will walk away with a more sufficient why. Because the whole thought of, find your purpose within, you do you. Follow your dreams, and Jesus is there to help us reach our dreams, and that sounds good. But it puts self at the center. And even though in American life we're used to putting self at the center and we like the sound of that and all of that, it's actually will lead to not much of anywhere. A self-centered life, you do you, follow your dreams, find your purpose within, will lead to fairly shallow life, a fairly shallow impact, a life of not much significance, which is why there's a lot of studies being done. Arthur Brooks, for example, a Harvard professor, just came out with a new book called The Meaning of Your Life. It's a great book, but he gives all these statistics to show that even for the most successful people in our culture, the people we'd all say, wow, what a life, actually, there's a crisis of real meaning and a crisis of significance and a crisis of connection. I have a really good friend. I mentioned his life motto before, and he doesn't know Jesus yet. He's a very wealthy guy. He's got homes, different parts of the world, and he's great. I love him. His life motto, this may be familiar, his life motto is, I don't know what I want to do, but I know I want to do whatever the heck, and that's edited, whatever the heck I want to do. I don't know what I want to do, but I know I want to do whatever the heck I want to do. And he spends his whole life, he's retired now, just doing whatever he wants to do. But I've asked the follow-up question, the Dr. Phil question, well, how's that working for you? And he'd say, well, there's not a lot of there. I'm busy, doing whatever I want, it's fun, but significance. Like he looks at my life and it's like, yeah, I can't relate to that. Today is the opportunity to hear from Jesus where purpose is, where meaning is. And we'll also find connection there because this is something Jesus wants for us. He actually came to make it possible for us to know it. In fact, what I want us to understand today is that your life has meaning and you can find it. Jesus said in John 10:10, I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. He came to bring us a full and meaningful, connected with him, connected with others, significant life. And he's going to tell us where to find that. And it is the last place Americans would look. But it's exactly what he came to bring. So we're going to be in a passage in Luke chapter 9 where he talks about this to say, hey, I want you to follow me into this way of life, but it is very counterintuitive. It is not what we would think, especially with American ears. I'm going to read the passage, and then we're going to dive into it. Then Jesus said to them all, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will save it. What good is it for someone to gain the whole world and yet lose or forfeit their very self or their soul? So he starts out talking, hey, if anybody wants to be my disciple, let me tell you how. Now that in itself was crazy because he's talking to thousands of people. He's talking to this huge crowd. And a rabbi in that day who would choose disciples, they would only choose the best of the best of the best. And to be a rabbi with a well-known disciple, that's like going to Harvard or going to MIT or something. You're thinking, oh, wow, and all that. And what Jesus is saying, anybody who wants to be my disciple, I'm opening up to anybody who wants it. That's it. Come as you are. If you want it, you can be my disciple. Same thing is true today. But what does that mean to be a disciple? What does it mean to follow him? Because we say that around here. Our mission statement is about following Jesus. That, we inspire people to follow Jesus and together change our world for good. Well, what does it mean to follow Jesus? And there's not a more important question to know the answer to than that. Because that's the ultimate invitation to follow him. But what does that mean? And in our culture, it can be a little confusing because we use follow in, lots of different ways. Like some of you follow me on social media, right? And some of you have unfollowed me on social media. And that's okay. I don't blame you. But whether you follow me or unfollow me or I follow something or unfollow, if you look at my social media, you're going to see a lot of skiing. And because I follow a lot of that, you'll see some business leaders on there as well, and dog videos. I don't think I followed those, but for some reason the algorithms know I like dogs. So it's skiing, business leader, and dogs. And I suppose I'm interested in that, right? And if I'm uninterested, I'll unfollow. That is not this. This is not, are you interested in me? Are you curious about me? This is beyond that. Follow means I'm actually giving up everything else, and I am now on this path. I am pursuing this. This is my major life commitment. And he describes exactly what it is with 3 commands. And the 3 commands are deny self, take up your cross, follow me. Deny self, take up your cross, and follow me. Now, we're going to dive into this from looking at the original language of the New Testament, Greek. We're going to get a little geeky, a little Greeky today, because I really want us to understand it the way somebody 2,000 years ago would have understood it. Because when we see that, but we're going to read it differently than they would have heard it 2,000 years ago. And the reason is Greek, which is the New Testament was originally written in, is more precise than English. And I want us to make sure we get it the way they would have gotten it. Because those 3 commands right there in English sound the same. Deny self, take up your cross, and follow me. Because in English, we just have an imperative. We just have a command, but it doesn't tell you a whole lot. Greek is more precise. So that's why I have these donuts up here to help us out. So, and I'm not a doctor, so don't get nervous here, putting on the gloves. But here's some donut holes, okay? Now, if I say in English, anybody want a donut hole, by the way? You do? Okay. This is a powdered one. Sorry, that's probably not the best choice. There's a chocolate donut hole. Anybody want that? Okay, over here? Okay. This is probably one of those Friday only. Oh, my goodness. Way over there? Really? Okay, here we go. I may need some encouragement, folks. Oh, little overshot. Oh, well. I tell you what, I'll put them down here at the end, and you can come get a donut hole, whoever you want, until they're gone. Now, if I give a command, if I say, eat donuts in English, you really don't know what that means. I mean, that could mean eat donuts right now, or it could mean, in general, as a life practice, eat donuts. Like pray, call your mom, read your Bible, eat donuts. Like as an ongoing thing in life, eat donuts. Or I could say, oh no, there's donuts right here, eat them. In English, you can't tell the difference without context. In Greek, you can. So in Greek, there's 2 different kinds of commands, 2 different tenses. Aorist, I've never said this in a sermon, aorist. I may not say it Sunday morning. If you fall asleep, then I know not to. But it's important, I think, to get. An aorist command is a one-time decision or action whose result continues. A present command is an ongoing daily decision or action. So an aorist command in Greek is eat a donut right now and the results will continue. Or decide to eat donuts now and then, that'll continue. But it's a one-time thing, a one-time decision, a one-time command. Present is eat donuts throughout your life. So in these commands, deny self, take up your cross, follow me, 2 of them, the first 2 are aorist commands. The last one, the follow me, is a present command. And here's what that means. That the first 2 are one-time decisions. You make this decision. This is going to be your life orientation, which leads to the follow me, which is the ongoing everyday commitment. Every day of my life, I'm going to live out that decision to deny self and take up your cross. So deny self, take up your cross is a decision. It is an action that you do. And then you live that out by following him. Some of you made that decision, some of you haven't. We'll talk about that. But deny self, take up your cross. So what? That's the decision. That's what it means to follow. Being a Christian, some of you last weekend became a Christian, which is great. But understand, becoming a Christian is not just about believing some things so you go to heaven one day. It is following Jesus into a new way of life. And he's trying to say this is what it is. It's a decision to deny yourself and take up your cross. So let's talk about deny self for a little bit. So in American life, we don't deny self. We elevate self. Self is everything. I've got to do me. I love myself. I'm going to prefer myself. I'm going to choose myself. I'm going to all that, right? Pamper myself. Like we're the most self-oriented culture in the history of cultures. And by the way, we're also, which is weird, when people do studies, one of the least fulfilled cultures in history as well, and certainly in modern day life. We're less fulfilled than developing nations, even though we've got all this stuff, right? That should tell us a lot. But he's saying don't elevate self, deny self. Meaning don't make your life about yourself. It's too tiny. Don't make your life about your comfort. Do not make your life about what you prefer. Do not make your life about what's easy. Deny self. Set self aside for the sake of something bigger. What's the something bigger? Take up your cross. Now, 2,000 years ago, when they heard take up your cross, they would have heard that very differently than we do too. Because when we think take up your cross, we think Jesus, because Jesus went to the cross and that's what we know. And that's true, that's part of this, that's important. But they would have, Jesus hadn't died yet when he's doing this. That's not what they would have thought of yet. They would later when they thought about this. But in the moment, they would have thought of all the hundreds of people that they had seen taking up their cross, literally. Because sometimes Rome, when there was a rebellion, would crucify hundreds of people at one time. But pretty much every day, every week, if you lived in a city, you would see people literally taking up their cross because if you're being crucified, whether Rome was killing you because of rebellion or some kind of crime or whatever, you would have to carry your cross, drag your cross to the place of execution, and along the way, everybody would know, oh, your life's over. I don't know what she did, I don't know what he did, but their life is over as they would go to the cross. They were dying to themselves as they were walking to their place of execution. That's what they would have thought of. And he's saying, do that voluntarily. Don't do it because you're in trouble. Don't do it because you're rebelling and you do this voluntarily. You choose to take up nobody would have talked like that. Nobody would have thought like that. Like, what? Why would you do that? Because I think eventually they would understand it when Jesus went to the cross. They'd realize, oh, there's purpose in it. Because when Jesus dies on the cross, and they're like, oh, because Jesus dying on the cross was fulfilling God's redemptive purposes in this world. It wasn't about punishment. Yes, there's a cost to it. That's true. But it's for a redemptive purpose. It's saying Jesus died on the cross for the sins of the world. He started the process of redeeming and restoring this world. And he invites you and me to set aside self as the driving force of our life and say yes to his redemptive purposes. And you and I have a role in that. It's your cross, my cross. You and I have a role in God's redemptive purposes of this world. And so what Jesus is inviting us into when we follow him is not just to know him, that's true, but also to give our lives to his redemptive purposes in this world, which is a big why, the biggest why on the planet. It's saying my why is not gonna be just about me and what I want and a nice, comfortable life. My life is gonna be about him. It's gonna be about knowing him, making him known to others. It's gonna be about participating in his redemptive work in this world, making it better and pointing people to relationship with him. That is my why. That's what's gonna drive everything in my life. And Jesus is saying, yeah, you make that decision and then live it out every day. You follow every day. And then life becomes an adventure. It's a one-time decision. It may not be a moment, but over time you make that decision and then you live that out every day. Now, some of you have made that decision at some point in your life. Maybe there was some moment for you that's like, oh no, my life's not about me. It's gonna be about Jesus and his purposes in the world. Maybe like at camp. You know, a lot of people do it at camp. You know, and maybe they sang a song around a campfire like, I have decided to, sing it with me, to follow Jesus. I have decided to follow Jesus. Nobody's singing it. Either you don't know it or you can't follow somebody off key. But I have decided to follow Jesus, right? And you're like, oh yeah, and you have that point of clarity. Can you think back to that moment of clarity? Now for some, I don't have a moment of clarity. For me, it was more of a time frame of clarity. Where over a period of some months, I decided, yeah, that's what my life's gonna be about. And for me, it was young. I was 8th grade going into 9th grade. And in 8th grade going into 9th grade, I was starting that 9th grade year. None of my friends were Christians at school. And there was a cost to it. And I remember. And looking back, you think, oh, who cares? It's just high school or whatever. But I still feel the cost of the rejection I felt from my friends. Because when we started school and I was going this way and they were going the party way and very different. You know how different, in high school, picture your high school cafeteria. If you went to high school, you had different groups, right? Everybody sits in, different tables. You've got the brainy kids and the athletic kids and the popular kids and the awkward kid, whatever. You just got the whole deal. And my friends it was a good table to be at. But when I started going my direction, they weren't going that direction, and I went from that table to no table. I didn't have anybody to sit with, which again, well, who cares? Big deal. Like really, you think about all that's going on in the world. Why don't you live in Iran right now? I mean, I get it's not the biggest point of suffering in the world, but I remember that cost. And then I thought, okay, I don't know any Christians in my school. I did in my church, but there was different geography than my school. And so I decided, hey, let's find out who Christians are, because everybody's like undercover. Let's find out who they are, and then let's reach our school. Let's change our school for Jesus. Like let's help people understand what God's done for them, and maybe make a difference here, not just hide out. And so a friend, I did know one senior in high school who's a Christian, and so I remember talking with him, and I was a freshman, he was a senior. I said, hey, let's start something. So we started an organization. And I met somebody very important when I did that. Her name is Christy. She was a junior when I was a freshman, and every day at break, Wednesday morning, we had our fellowship of Christian students, and the whole point was, hey, we're not just gonna hide out here, we're not just gonna fellowship here, we're not just gonna relate here, we're gonna ask God to help us change our school. We're gonna ask God to help people understand how they can have a relationship with God through Jesus. Like, we're gonna serve people here. We're gonna love people here in the name of Jesus. That's what we're gonna do. And we did. And it was an awesome time of life. But I remember that shift from saying, okay, I can be comfortable, I can just do me, because just staying with my friends and doing the party thing would have been pretty fun, honestly. But it would have been pretty empty. And I remember that shift, right? And then, after a while, I was a senior in high school, and everybody's asking me, what's the question they ask seniors in high school? What? Right? What are you going to do? Now, you know the end of that story. You know what I do, right? I'm a pastor of a church. Did you know that? Pastor of a church. Which means I get paid to be a Christian. I'm a pro. I'm a professional Christian. Most of you are amateurs. And, that's good. You try. But I'm kidding. But I am on staff at a church, right? And you think, oh, yeah, see, you really belong. Like, you really are dedicated to Jesus and his purposes. I mean, you work for a church. Like, you're really like, wow, God's using you. You're in a whole different category. And no. Remember, it's not about the what. It's about the why. We could do a million different whats. For me, I could have done a lot of different whats and been just as effective for God, just as effective in ministry. I could have been a business owner like my dad, a doctor like my brother, a fashion coordinator like my mom. That's probably a stretch, but I could maybe. But I didn't. It just the way it worked out for me was something different. I won't do this forever. Eventually I get too old, they'll kick me out. I'll have to figure something out to do. And somebody, eventually, it's gonna happen. And don't get too excited. It's gonna be a while. But I'm saying, what I want us to go into this week with whatever your what is, whatever your job is, whatever your school is, your family, your neighborhood, your whatever. I don't want you to reevaluate your what. That may be another sermon, another thing, or whatever. I just don't care about that right now. In fact, I think God has you at your what. My guess is God has you there on purpose. It's not accidental. Like you don't have to be there forever, but the Bible talks about this. It describes your what as your placement, as your assignment. Those are the two words Paul uses in 1 Corinthians. That you're not just there. You've been assigned there. You've been placed there. And you can choose to upgrade your sense of why, which changes everything about how you do your what. And imagine this week, if you decided, you know what, I'm gonna go to work this week, not just trying to survive the workday or make some sales and do something. I mean, I'm gonna work hard, I'm gonna do my work well, because that's part of the why. That's part of what God wants us to do. But I'm gonna go with a whole new sense of why. I wanna be God's person there. I want to be part of what God's doing and as he's working at his redemptive work in the world, which includes making workplaces a place of flourishing for people and using whatever influence we have to help other people flourish. It's not about me, it's about others. It also is living in a way where I can represent Jesus in a way that actually is attractive. That's what we're told to do at work, is to relate in a way that it makes the gospel, the good news about Jesus, attractive to those who don't know Jesus. Like, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna love people, I'm gonna serve people, I'm gonna lift people up, I'm gonna try to live in a way that creates curiosity about why I am the way I am and be ready to share about Jesus. I'm gonna be here to change our community, to make whatever I'm doing, whether it's at a hospital or a school or a place of business or a bank or whatever, I want to go with a whole new sense of why. And my prayer has been that you and I will go back obsessed with it. Like, not just occasional thinking about it, but that's what we'll be obsessed with while we're at work. Okay, God, I'm here. And my why is to know you, to serve your purposes, to be part of your redemptive purposes in this world, to connect people to you. That's my why. So God, I'm gonna walk with you through the day. I'm gonna follow you through this day with my eyes open. I'm gonna be intentional about it. And then life becomes an adventure. And whether you like your job or not, it becomes an adventure that's bigger than the what when you live a different why. The same thing is true with church. You know, I don't think it's accidental that we are collected together right now. In fact, I know it's not. I mean, I know some of you are visiting and you're trying to figure out if this is for you. I get it, and you make a good choice. There's good places around. But once you decide, okay, God, I think you have me here, well, there's a why that's attached to that. And that why is actually what draws us together. The word church, this is going Greeky, geeky again, is ecclesia. It means called out ones who are called out with a purpose. And that purpose is God's redemptive purposes in this world. We have been called out of this world and collected together, and the one thing that unites us is Jesus and his redemptive work in this world. We get the opportunity to help each other know Jesus, to help each other become more like Jesus, and then together to say, let's change our community together. Let's change our world together. Let's introduce people to Jesus. Let's change our world. Let's make it better here. And when you and I participate in that, not just as a consumer, but we start saying, okay, I'm gonna engage. I'm gonna start to give. I'm gonna start to serve. I'm gonna find a way to make that happen. Then we find meaning, and we find purpose, and we find connection. Our elder board, which is like our board of directors, the Bible calls elders, is reading a book right now. And I invite you to pick it up and read it. I think it'll help you understand who we are as a church too. But it's by a guy named Andy Stanley. And the book is called Deep and Wide. And the book starts with this line, and it says this: "Blessed is the one who gets the opportunity to devote his life to something bigger than himself and to find himself surrounded by friends who share his passion." In this way, he says, I've been disproportionately blessed, and me too. I talked about being a pastor here, and I gotta tell you, I love being a pastor here. I love this place. I've been here since 1989. And I love this place, and I love you. And I'm so thankful that I get to serve alongside a group of people who lean forward, who say, okay, God, we're here, and we're here with a purpose, and God, we want to change this. We want to change the world. We want to join you in what you're doing. And I invite you to just take whatever step God wants you to take. Because I think one day after Jesus comes back and we get to heaven, I don't know how it's gonna work, but I plan to have a Chase Oaks party. And a bunch of people say, hey, you remember when? Do you remember when God did that? Do you remember when that happened in our community? Do you remember when we went through that crazy thing, COVID? And we were able to tell the whole Dallas-Fort Worth area, hey, you know what? Because we love Jesus, we're gonna take care of every first responder and give free childcare to anybody who wants it. You remember when we were able to do that? And how people began to think about Christianity differently because of it? Or whatever, right? Just tell memories or... I don't think we're just here to be here. I think we're here to live for a bigger why. And here's what Jesus said. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will save it. What good is it for someone to gain the whole world and yet lose or forfeit their very self? The way you and I find life is not by grasping. It's by letting it go. It's by giving. It's by serving. It's by setting self aside for something bigger. And that's the life Jesus came for us to bring. For some of you, today's an opportunity to consider that. For some of you, you say, yeah, I've made that decision. Well, it's an opportunity to think, well, how well am I aligned with that decision? How am I living that out? And what would it look like for all of us to go to work or go to school or be in our family, whatever we do, to go with a whole new sense of why? And with all of it, let's take that to God together in prayer. And if you've been around Chase Oaks, you know I like to get us talking to God because life's so busy. We want to pray, we want to spend time, and that's great, and I hope you do outside of this, but at least here, let's talk to him. And for some of you, this may be the opportunity to say yes to being a disciple, to saying yes to having a relationship with Jesus. Say, God, you said anybody who wants to be my disciple, deny yourself, take up your cross and follow me. And I'm an anybody, and I say yes. I don't want to just live for me. I'm going to deny myself. I'm going to make the decision to take up my cross, to join you in your purposes in this world, and follow you, and work that out every day. For others, it's an opportunity to think about our lives in light of that decision. And me too. I can do my job in a way where I'm really not taking up my cross. As crazy as that sounds with what I do. And so for me too, it's just, okay, God, what would it look like for me to have a whole new why that fuels me this week? God, we thank you for the fact that you came that we may have life and live it to the full. And in a world where we have so much stuff and so little fulfillment, so much self-focus and so little meaning. God, would you rescue us? Would you save us from ourselves and help us live a life that is full and connected? In Jesus' name, amen.